Hey everybody, Andy here. Happy live office hours day, helping you build a career you love. Today, the part of your career that we're going to talk about is how to get rich. I want you all to be rich, which is why I've got a baker's dozen tips, tricks, tactics, secrets related to salary negotiation. Great to have you if you're here with me live. Get in the chat, say hi, let me know who you are, where you're from, what you do, what you need. Put some question marks in front of your questions so I can find them when we go to the Q&A. If you're in my job search coaching program, use your boot camper hashtag, or if you're a leader, let me know, or if you're in any of my other programs, I always love to give you a shout out. Great to have you all and everybody else. Got a fun one today on what to do along the way in the entire interviewing process so you get paid more money. Now, some of these are like seeds you plant in the beginning. I'm going to teach you how to water them along the way, and then once they're in full bloom at the end of that offer comes, I'm going to teach you how to make them grow really fast. So I hope you're in for this and as excited as I am about it. And just like you, I'm going to be hearing this for the first time because I haven't run through this at all. It's been a busy week with the 4 dogs and Mrs. LaCivita at school, so I've been flying solo again. It takes a lot to handle those little guys. Okay, let me see. I always like to say hello. I saw Rachel, who I love, one of my boot campers, and Adam Stark, who's always with me from the other side of the pond. Did you see who also showed up? My mom. Great to see you, Mom. Love you. And Donna and Cherry, my baby girl, and whoever enter your name here is ready to learn. Great to have you. Danielle Phillips, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. Word Dog Toronto, great to see you back after the mini camp. Mike Tierney, great to have you too. Okay. I got a lot of points, so I want to get right into it. And like I said, I have no idea how long this is going to take me. But, so what is this all about? We are going to talk about some things that I think are not intuitively obvious. They're not very well known. Or if they are things you've heard before, whether from me or anybody else for that matter, I want to make sure you understand why we're doing what we're doing, how to do it, what to do, what not to do. And the first thing that I always like, I always like everybody to do, and you can call this step 0, but not a lot of people do this, or not a lot of people truly go through the exercise and reflect on this when they're supposed to. So, Kara, hopefully we're in the right Slack channel here. Make sure we're in yours and not the live session one. All right, before you start, I want you to take stock of what you have, and I'm talking in this case about the financial stuff. Right, so you often hear me say, when you go to work for an employer or a company, there's a value package. And when I use that term, I'm talking about the entire value it has to you, what I get to do, who I get to do it with, what I'm learning, the career opportunities, maybe I get to travel internationally, anything that's important to you, that's part of the value package. But I want you to be very clear too on financially what you get from your current employer. And all too often, most people don't actually dig into this until the 11th hour, and they start to think about, well, I'm going to get an offer, and I got this offer. Now I have to actually look back. How much salary do I actually get? When is my bonus paid? What does the 401k match actually turn out to be? How much vacation do I get? What about those training stipends I get and all those other reimbursements? And most people don't truly understand what they have. And I want you to collect it primarily because, number one, I want you to know what you have. Number two, I want you to also be aware that no 2 job offers, whether it's your current employer and the salary and the compensation you get, or an offer from another prospective employer or another prospective employer, they will never be equal. They will never have all the same components or address those components to the same degree. So one of the things I want you to do, and I'm going to gift this to you right now. I want to show you this. I have this free giveaway. Kara, can you add this to the chat, where it's a free download that I give, and I break down the different components that I would make sure I evaluate just to take stock, salary, bonus, company stock, and so on. And I give you the definition of what most of these are. I give you a little grid here to make sure that you have some visibility to it. and you really have an understanding of what it is that you earn. Because when we did a lot of recruiting, and people would say to me, well, I got $100,000 salary and I get a 20% bonus. Well, you don't make $120,000, right? And oh, you mean you only got 5% last year, right? Except when all of a sudden, when they go to evaluate a new opportunity, they automatically in their head think they earn $120,000. That's not the case. Right? When's your next raise coming? What might that be? Could we speculate? Any information that you have is going to help you make a more informed decision. So number one, I want you to do that. This is kind of obvious, but I don't think the practice of doing it is very effective. And that is not my opinion. That's me evaluating thousands of job candidates and going through this process with them and seeing what they're doing or not doing, so we'd help them with that as recruiters. All right, the next thing that I want you to do, and this one's a little trickier. I see almost nobody do this. And when I say almost nobody, I really mean like nobody. So first thing you want to write out your goals for your position, and you can use your position in general, or you can use the job description. I'll be really clear what I mean here and what I'm talking about. So if you are a marketer, I don't care if you're the event planner, I don't care if you're the social media content manager, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're the chief marketing officer. The marketing positions themselves generally have different goals that any employer would want them to accomplish. You want to increase brand awareness, right? I want to elevate my ability to be recognized in the world. Maybe that's more social media followers. Maybe that's more people hitting my website. Whatever it is. Whatever. But that is going to be a metric by which all marketers are evaluated. Then you can look at, okay, if I'm going to bring myself to market, and I'm the social media content manager, am I actually putting things together, putting engines together, running the social media platform or whatever it is that is actually increasing brand awareness? That would be a goal of the position, whether directly and immediately or whether what I'm doing is a prerequisite step to accomplishing the goal. Every single one of you, regardless of what you do, irrespective of your position, you have these goals. And oftentimes the job description that you're applying to, or if you don't have a job description, you could look at other job descriptions or other position write-ups or anything that's remotely close to what it is you do to give yourself an idea of what those goals and objectives are. And why would you want to know these? Well, let's say I'm Joe Job Seeker and I'm just starting the process and I haven't even sent out an email, an application, or anything. If you think through what the goals and objectives of your position would be, you're likely well ahead of anybody else in knowing what an employer likely needs. And what an employer likely needs, it's going to be music to their ears when they hear it from you or when they see it on your resume. And on your resume, if you highlight, maybe in the career highlights section, for those of you that go to the Andy School of Resume Writing, if you highlight what those are already in advance and your resume, your base resume is ready with this, you're going to have a lot more hits because they're going to see that you are actually solving the problems they have. Plus, the interview stories that you prepare will be the ones that they want to hear because you're going to tell them how you solve those problems or how you will attain those metrics. And the other thing that it will do is it will tee you up for something that I want you to be building along the way in the interview process, which is a matrix of what the goals and objectives are for the position, how you are going to take the steps to solve those or achieve those, and what it's ultimately going to mean in terms of benefits and value for the employer. So imagine, before you even decide you're going to target a company or a position, you could actually know what these are because you have experience doing your job, I hope, right? Or even if you're trying to change careers, still look at this. This could be part of your research exercise. And I want to save one of the big points for why I want you to do this till we get down to the end and the counteroffer. But this is a step. Show of hands, how many would ever think to do this? And all of you boot campers are disqualified from my question here, because if y'all are not in my boot camp, we spent last Wednesday showing them exactly why to do this, how to do this, and I took them through the steps. If that's something you're interested in seeing, you could become part of the program. Membership is open on sale right now. I'll tell you about that later for this. And so I took them through how to identify it for their position. I gave them a write-up of all the steps, a document of all the steps, how to think through what it is, where it goes on the resume, how to articulate it, how to prep your stories. I gave them a couple of examples of how to do this, and we did some hot seats. So we actually did this for people live in that coaching session. So how many of you do this, like really get down to the nitty-gritty? So some of you do. Okay, well, wait, I'm happy to hear that, because rarely is this something that people think about. They look at job descriptions and they say, okay, what do I got to do? But I want you to really take some time to do this. The next thing I want you to do, keep a diary. Why would I want you to keep a diary? I want you to capture the key components along the way that you are going to use to sell yourself throughout the process, but ultimately that you're going to use at the end when you negotiate your compensation. So what do I mean when I say keep a diary? All right, so when I was a recruiter and we were recruiting, and I was taking searches every week from new employers, and I would get in there and I would ask them a bunch of questions, and they would inevitably, of course, offer up information. And I would ask them things like, how long you been looking? 3 months. The salesperson you want me to find, who's been helping you find that person. My 2 corporate recruiters spend a couple hours a day. We've got another search firm or 2 that have been working, but they're failing. What's an average salesperson sell? Oh, $1.2 million, $100,000 a month in your services, right? On this goes to try to understand the pain points and what's happening as a result of not having this person, or, right, you've looked at job candidates. Why didn't you hire somebody? What skill sets are they missing? All this stuff goes in a diary, because when I'd get down to the end and I'd say, okay, well, let's see. You just spent 3 months, meaning there was, even if this was an average seller, $300,000 in revenue that you didn't get. Not let's rack up whatever the corporate recruiter's cost was on their salaries for them looking a couple hours a day, right? For both of them, that's 4 a day, that's 20 a week. Do the math. Oh, those other search firms that you had to spend time with. How much time did you waste with them, looking at candidates, explaining to them who you needed? Rack it all up. If I was able to find the person in 2 days, would that be worth $100,000 to you? Right? They'd say, well, Andy, hey, the other firms only. The other firms what? The other firms that you're unhappy with, that if they were worth their salt, I wouldn't be sitting here? You mean those other firms and what they were going to charge you for this? You just told me, I don't know, rack up this bill. We got to be up to $400,000 right now that you didn't get. And is that not reasonable? Well, how's $50,000 sound? Right, kind of thing. And if you're not able to have this, so what might your diary look like? The position's been open how long? They're struggling to find somebody. You mean somebody left? Oh, you really love that person? Well, if because hopefully we like to think you're going to trade up, whoever you're going to hire. What would be some skills that this new person could do that other person, even though you loved him, didn't have? What if you could upgrade the entire team? What skills would you be looking for? What would be an over and above stretch goal you'd love to hit that the team hasn't really been able to hit in the last couple of years? You never seem to get there. All these things that you ask along the way, you jot it down, because when you get down to the end, you're going to pull out this list. I'm going to show you how to do that here in a bit. But make sure you're keeping a diary. And I'm talking about some place in your notes that you actually can go to say, here are the list of all the things that are either the employer is in pain about, the employer has an aspiration, even though they would think that's total gravy, or, right, other skill sets you have that no one else has, ways you could solve the problem to the degree that no one else can, right? All of a sudden, right, I'm willing to pay more for that. But you got to make sure that you capture it, because if you can't make a cohesive argument against all this stuff, if this is lying around in your notes somewhere and it's buried everywhere, you're never going to be able to make a really good, sound, lucid argument. So I want to make sure that you do that. All right, now, when you start the process, so you're getting into it and you're at the screen, and so you got the interview. All All right, so you put something on your application about your silly expected salary, but you get in. I want you to refrain. Now, I'm putting this in here for completeness, but I do want to touch on it for a moment. Any of you that have followed me for more than 5 minutes know that I want you to, at all cost, not provide an expected salary. You'll either, in most cases, go too low, right? You might not think. Or in some cases, you might go too high, which is going to bother employers, but it only will bother them at the beginning. It won't bother them as much at the end after you've had a chance to what? Raise your stock. Most of you, what you do is you say, well, Andy, I don't want to waste my time, so I want to know if they can meet my number. When what you've seen in terms of the opportunities for you to waste your time is so narrow compared to what I've seen and what employers will do when they find the right person that can elevate their company, their team, or whatever it might be. You will be amazed at how far organizations will stretch beyond what you think. Now, here's another part I want to comment here. I have some videos on YouTube where I go into more detail on this. Very recently, I put a video out on how to get a higher salary by not providing your expected salary. There's a video out there on that, and I've also given you a couple of videos on the channel on the best answer to what your expected salary. I would check those out, but I want to comment here because some of you say, well, the employer asked me what my current salary is. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, Andy, you can either give me exactly what you earn down to the dime right now, or your expected salary, I wouldn't even need to think. I would give them my actual salary because the actual salary has absolutely no bearing on the negotiation that I'm going to go through at the end based on what I'm worth to do their job. For their job, for what they're willing to pay me at this moment in time. Has nothing to do with what I currently earn. And I even have videos on the channel about when you should disclose your salary. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, Andy, companies can't ask me that in my state. Companies can't ask me that in my city. It's a law. That's all fine, and a lot of countries would never dream of asking you that. And it doesn't matter to me. My point to you is I don't want you to give them anything if possible, but if you want to give them a frame of reference, I'd rather you give them your actual salary than your expected salary because one is irrelevant and the other can only do harm. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Check those videos out. Then, now we'll get into some of the fun ones. All right, also when you're starting, this is at the screen and throughout the process, I want you to tell them every single company that you're interviewing with. And not only that, I want you to tell them every single position you're interviewing for, exactly what it's called, who it's with, and where you are in the process. And if you can, I would also love for you to tell them how lovely your current employer is. All right? How many of you right now, show of hands, thinks coach is crazy? Like, why would I want to do this? There's so many reasons, and I'm going to give you a couple. Okay? Now, I know some of you might think, well, if I tell them how great my current company is, they'll think that I'm not really a plausible candidate, that I won't really leave. All you need to say is, things are pretty well where I am. There's opportunities for improvement, and I'm open to, right? The possibility of. I'm not running out of a burning building. You need to do this. I want to know how many of you think I'm nuts right now, but I want to tell you exactly why I want you to do this. First thing is, you're communicating, right? I'm an open book. I'm sharing with you. The quid pro quo applies. I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff. I want you to tell me about your candidates in the pipeline, where you're finding them from, how they're coming along. Will you keep me updated along the way? I'll keep you updated. You keep me updated. The other thing it does is it earns you a reputation as a communicator. And nothing ticks an employer off more than a candidate that's moving through their process, who they love, who comes to them and says, hey, Andy, I'm so sorry, but I just accepted another job with another company, and I look at you and I say, Susie, I didn't even know you were interviewing with anybody else. Why didn't you tell me? Because we would have hurried up and I'd have gotten everybody from the Mile Walk Academy lined up to talk to you today, because I don't want to let you go. That will happen far more than you think. And the other thing is, you're planting some seeds, because if you are showing yourself as a communicator and you are advising them or apprising them of what's happening with you along the way, as you get down to the end, who heard me say a week or two ago, everything I do, I plan to win. When I start an interviewing process, I assume I'm going to get a job offer. I want to know when I get the job offer, what I'm going to need to ask them, but I also need to know when I get the job offer, there may be some favors I need to ask them for, like I have some other things going. Can we hurry or slow down? Or anything that I might need, like can I have more time to review the offer? The more informed they are of where you are, the greater the likelihood they're going to give you the grace period you need because they appreciated you were communicating along the way and you didn't surprise them. You follow me? So wait, I'm not even gotten to the good parts about why this is important. Okay, and I'm going to save those till the end. But I want you to know this does you well. And I'm not talking about every single time you have an interview, you got to obnoxiously call up the recruiter and say, hey, I just want to let you know I had a 10-minute phone screen with the recruiter. They're going to move me to the hiring official. No, just let them know, hey, I'm interviewing with these companies. Here's where I am. I've talked to the recruiter. They're moving me to the hiring official. I talked to the hiring official over there. It's for a database architect position. Just give them the goods. Okay, you're going to need this later. And I'm not even finished with this one yet, but I want to save it for the end. All right, then when you start, you always want to make sure you're asking what's been missing on the team and what's been missing in the candidates you've interviewed. And it could be a number of things. So if they say, well, it's a lone wolf position and the person just left. Okay, well, you're missing a whole person. All right, so now what was missing in that perfect person that just left, right? No one's perfect, but the person you loved, what would you have loved to have had? Oh, you've got 5 team members. What skill sets are missing? What are you trying to supplement? What's the level you want everybody to be at, but they're not? All that kind of stuff. The candidates you've been interviewing, why have you not hired anybody? Oh, the position's been open 2 months. How many candidates have you talked to? 12. What's been wrong with them? Have you given any offers to anybody? Right? Like, you want to make sure you're getting this because this is stuff you're going to use to sell yourself throughout the process in the interviews, but also when you go down to the end, right? You're going to be adding this stuff to the diary. And then this one is a gross mistake that I see a lot of people make. But I don't ever want you to accept anything along the way. I want you to make sure, let's make sure we're not in the right channel. All right. I want you to make sure that you are not accepting anything on an unsolicited or a solicited basis. I'm going to be really clear here because I'll give you some examples because a lot of you do this and it really, really hurts you. All right. Does this sound familiar? You get into an interview process. Andy, I want to work remotely, but it says I need to be in the office 5 days a week. Andy, I got 4 weeks vacation and they only want to start me at 2. What happens is you get into these interview processes and you collect some information, they collect some information on you, and you start to go through them. And whether in the opening ceremony or the first discussion with the hiring official or the third discussion with the hiring official or whatever, something comes up that says, hey, Susie, I see you live in rural Pennsylvania. That'd be a rough commute for you to come to. Don't worry about it. You can work from home. And I noticed here on the information you gave the recruiter that you have 4 weeks vacation and we normally start you out with 2. I'm sure we can bump that up. And you're thinking, oh, how nice. And what you're doing is you're accepting little things along the way. And what's really cracks me up about this is you don't realize instead of raising your stock, instead of collecting more stock, you're collecting more IOUs. So I don't ever want to go to the negotiation table and be in debt because you owe me 2 now, right? The remote and the vacation that I'm offering, right? The employer negotiated with themselves. You took it and didn't even know it. And now when you get to the negotiating table, you've handicapped yourself because you took those 2 off the table and you owe them. Right? Literally or figuratively. And so you're collecting IOUs instead of collecting stock. And what really cracks me up about this is most of you are doing this and you're negotiating with yourself for what? Not a bigger salary. You're negotiating with yourself on whether you want to continue the interview process. Right? Hey, if you let me work remotely, then I'll keep going with you. You might not use those words or they may not come out of your mouth, but that's what you're doing. Show of hands. Who does this? Right? How many of you do this? You do this constantly. You might not call it this or think you're doing this, but you're negotiating with yourself about whether you want to continue based on what? The salary, the budget, or whether I can work remotely, or whether they'll call me a director, or whether I'll get that office, right? That's what you do. Brutal, brutal mistake, and you could make this multiple times over in an interviewing process. I want you to push everything to the end because we're going to batch it up at the end, because when you get down to the end, that's what I want you to do. I want you to ask for everything. I'll get to the whole thing in a minute, but the more of these that you have to discuss, the greater the likelihood that you will get more of them, not less of them. You don't owe them anything yet. You haven't asked for remote work. I want you to say, Andy, I'm sure we can work that at the end. We can sort through all that. You know, that's just part of it, right? Vacation's just part of it. 401k match is just part of it. Stock options. Oh, hey, you know what? Normally, Susie, we only give 10,000, incentive stock options for this position, but you're so senior, I'm thinking we might be able to bump that to 15. You don't even have an offer yet. The employer's negotiating with themselves and they just gave you more, right? And they think I gave you more. You didn't ask for anything. And you said what? That sounds great. No, you need to push. If I had push all the way to the end. All the way to the end. Don't say anything. Don't say thank you. Don't say that sounds great. Don't say wonderful. Don't use any word that can be misconstrued as thanks or compliance or I'm taking it. All right? Push everything. Anytime anything comes up, all the way to the end. All right. Next thing. When you get to the offer stage where you're about to get the offer, this is still in the interview process. I want you to refrain from any requests to give them a number or a range. So wait, let's say up front you refrained and you said, my coach told me he's going to come and sit on my head if I open my mouth and tell you anything. So I'm going to push. And I realize you look like, you're purple in the face, but I'm not telling you anything. So you get all the way down to the end. Now they say, okay, you wouldn't tell me anything up front. Susie, I don't want to insult you. Can you give me an idea? I want to put a fair offer together. The words out of my mouth would be, if you don't think you could put a fair offer out without me telling you exactly what it needs to be, I don't want to work here, right? That's what would be going through my head. But you're not going to do that, right? Because you want to work there probably. You say, look, you saw what I do in the interview process, right? You saw, right, what I'm going to help you attain and all that other good stuff. I'm sure if you'll put something together that's fair, and let's use that as a starting point. No, I really need something. Okay, tell you what. My coach Andy told me to write out all the goals and objectives. Can we at least, before I give you any idea, could we go through my list and see what this value might be to you? And then maybe based on that, we can both come up with something that's probably, a good starting point. That's another alternative. But I want you not to pitch your number. I want you to catch theirs. And this is really important to refrain here, because the person who has more information is going to make, at a minimum, a more informed decision, but likely a better decision, not to mention its negotiating power when you have more information than the other person. Because what they're trying to do by asking you what your expected salary is or what the range might be, is they're asking you, give me more information because I want to put a better offer together. When the fact of the matter is, they probably will undershoot. And I don't want you to give them a number that they then hit that leaves you no negotiating room because you haven't actually seen all the T's and C's and details of what the offer entails. And these offers are complicated even if they're in their simplest form with just a base salary and a number of other things. You don't have a clue. So I've told stories in the past about how clients of ours would be in excruciating pain because they would be looking for a consultant who they could bill out at $50,000 a month that they would probably pay $175,000 a year for. But at that moment, after 6 months of looking for somebody who they couldn't find, that person would be worth $250 to them, easy, right? So if you, Mr. 175 on a good day, was thinking, I'd like a little bump, well, you'd be leaving a lot of money on the table, and this is what I'm talking about. So I got story after story on that if you want me to regale you. But do me the favor. Keep your mouth sewn shut right when they ask you again. All right, now, when you get to the negotiating table, And you are technically not at the negotiating table until you have a written offer. So if you think you're counteroffering and you don't have paper in front of you, you are not counteroffering, you're botching it up. Okay, so you don't get to negotiate until you have a full written offer with all the details in front of you, because part of your negotiation strength is going to come from the questions you ask, not for things or for concessions or for anything, but for information. Okay, so I want you, when you get your offer, to ask questions first, only to get information. I don't want you to make any requests. Why would I want you to do this? Okay, so let's give you an idea of what I mean. You get an offer. The offer's going to say in your 2-page letter and 17-page employment agreement, okay, here you're going to get here's your title and your position. Here's the job description. Here's, we're going to give you a salary at $8,000 a month. We're going to give you a target bonus with some phantom formula that you don't know about and can never be able to figure out at, $10,000 a year, right? So you're up to, $107,000 or whatever. And it's going to go through the stuff. And when you ask questions related to your offer, I want you to be able to say, okay, I get paid. When do I get paid? What are the dates? Am I paid in arrears right away, or am I delayed? Oh, the bonus. Okay, it's a $10,000 bonus. It's a 10% bonus. It's a 25% bonus. How is it paid? When is it paid? What did the team get last year? What did the people like me get last? Oh, they got 0. Why did they get 0? What about the year before? And so on. Oh, the 401k match, the 6%, if I put all that in and you give me the 6%, does it go in the 401k account? Does it go in a profit sharing distribution account? Does it vest over 4 years? Or what happens if I leave in 2 years? Is that kick in and paid right away? Do I have to give back what was granted? You have to go through all this. And what happens when you go through all this is what? At a minimum, you're getting more information, but what's really happening is the more they respond to you, what's going through their head is, God, this doesn't sound as good as I thought it was. Boy, they got some fair points. Yeah, I guess that 6,000 we're going to dump in if anything should happen, and they really don't get it forever. And this is a 25-year-old, and she's not going to see this for 40 years. And all this stuff matter. Oh wait, they're not incentive stock options, right? Oh, they're phantom stock. And what's the value of the phantom stock? And when I got to wait 4 years? But all of that stuff matters to you. Then you can look back and assess that against what you currently took stock of your current situation. But ultimately, I don't want you asking for anything until what? You have all the information to know what you need to ask for. You may alter your initial ideas based on the answers they give you related to this. And at a minimum, even if you just got salary, you still got vacation, benefits, the costs, the associated whatevers. There's a bunch of incidentals, right, that could play into this. And then some of you with the complicated structures, moving costs and other things, all that stuff you need to make sure you are crystal clear. Why are you negotiating a salary when you've got at least as much money tied up in other things? So I want you to go through this. You will be amazed. They will start negotiating with themselves in their own head. Okay, before you get to ask them anything, which you didn't even do yet. All right, now, remember this guy? Coach says write out the goals. You're not just going to write out your goals. I need to increase brand awareness. I need to build the marketing team. I need to whatever. I need to build the analytics infrastructure. I need to make sure that the salespeople have this. I need to boom, right? You got to have it all out. What are you going to do? Here's all I'm going to do in the first year. What's all that going to translate to? Here's what it's going to mean. Tangible, intangibles, and so on. You're going to go to the negotiating table after you've asked all those questions. Now, some of you are going to say, Andy, well, do I ask all those questions and then go back and counter? Yes. Oh, Andy, should I ask all those questions and then make a counter? Yes. It depends on how well you've prepared, how much you knew in advance, who you're dealing with. Are you talking to the HR person? Are you talking to the hiring official? This gets very complicated as far as what to do based on the combination of the steps, the people, and what you're being offered and how close it is to what you want, depending on when you want to make your ask. Sometimes it might be, Andy, we're going to call you at 4 o'clock. At 3:55 in your email inbox is going to be your offer, and I want you to open it, and the phone's going to ring, and you hit the button, and the email's going to open, and I'm going to walk you through it. And I'll be seeing it for the first time, and I won't have all my questions. But if I have an offer, Then you come and you get with me, and then I tell you everything to ask them in the session that you actually have with them, but you could make your counter offer there after you ask your questions if you've prepared and you know an if then, if I get this, then I'll ask for that kind of thing. All right, then what I want you to do is I want you to make your counter offer case. I want you to make your counter offer case with your objectives and goals and future value, not market information. Let me be really clear. So, boot campers, who loves the advanced negotiation tactics little sheet? Compliments of Joe, Mr. Joe, our beloved boot camper, and I, during one of our coaching sessions, we built this template. We use it, we give it to the boot campers, and I gave them a whole session on how to do this. But you're basically making your counter offer argument on future value. I don't care that you sold 1,000 widgets over at your other company. Our customers are more pain in the ass. Our customers are bigger and uglier. Whatever, right? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I showed you how I would do it. I showed you what I do. I showed you what I'm experienced in, why I'm a badass, and now I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do for you. And like I said, oh, you've been losing $300,000 a month. If I get all that back in a day, am I not worth $1 million? Right, kind of thing. So you've gotta be able to talk it through, showing them the value you're going to achieve. And if you say to them, well, I just want more money because I feel like I'm better, that's not going to work. But there's going to be a huge difference when you say, okay, look, I'm going to put the marketing team together. Historically, and I showed you, I walked you through the story of how I was able to elevate this from here to here, right? Okay, we're going to do that for you. I already know all the challenges. I already have the structure. I'm already bringing the playbook and so on. I'll have that up in 6 months. And then by a year, you're going to have all that stuff, right? So am I not worth an extra 20 grand or whatever it might be? But you're going to make it according to the future value, because market data and what somebody is earning, who's your friend down the block, who's doing the same job as you are, that market data is going to shift by the time you start, right? The employer, that is a relative number. An employer, it will be easier for the employer to give you more money if you make an absolute argument rather than a relative argument. So-and-so's earning. I don't know what so-and-so, I don't know that. I don't know what that project manager does at that company. I don't know how hard that job is. I don't know, right? Show me what it means. You're going to have a much, much better way of making a case. And yes, you could pull in some of this other stuff if you want to pile on top, if you don't think your argument's going well. But I would start here. Okay, so that's the next thing. And then the diary points. And to boot, I'm bringing to the table these assets that you didn't anticipate. No one has these skills. We had one guy, Rohan, you've probably, maybe some of you have been fortunate enough to see his case study. He was so experienced that when I worked with him to make his counter offer argument, he's in Canada, was working, got an offer with a San Francisco, a US-based startup organization, and they went way up. And one of the arguments we made is that they wouldn't need to hire somebody to do something in the first year that he would actually do for them. Hey, I'm taking that $150,000 resource off the table, and I'll do that. That's worth more money. You don't have to pay me an extra $150, but you can pay me more money, right? Those kinds of things. You want to make sure that you're highlighting your unique value in your counteroffer, okay? And then to cap it all off, remember, hang on, let me make sure, go back to my cards here. Remember that one I said about, I want you to do this. I want you to tell them all the positions that you have going, and at a minimum, I want you to tell them that things are pretty good where you are, right? Even if they're not. Why would I want you to do that, right? Number one, transparency. Number two, earning a reputation as a communicator. Number three, what else, right? I'm going to need to ask for grace time because I'm a killer and I'm going to get 3 offers, not 1, right? Kind of thing. But I also need you to have this, and this is the sweetest of sweets. You need to be able to say, all right, here's what I'm going to do for you. I bring all this stuff to the table. Here's the value I'm going to add for you. I want you're going to offer in $150 with a $20,000 bonus and this and that and the other thing. Based on what I showed you, is there a way, right? You're going to ruck these numbers up. 180 base, 30,000 bonus, 10,000 sign on, and so on and so forth. And remember all those other people I told you I was interviewing with for all those other positions, and the fact that my company's going to come after me with a counteroffer? You hit this number, I'll drop them all and I'm yours. I give you my word. If you don't have this at your disposal, you're going to leave money on the table. Why? Because here's what's going to happen. I probably would have given her 175. I probably would have given her an extra 25 on the bonus. But you know what? For a measly extra 10 grand, I make all this go away. You think they're paying you more money? They're not paying you more money. Technically, they are. I paid extra 10 grand for what? I bought off risk. Now I'm giving the 10 grand to me. Why am I giving it to me? Because can you imagine if she doesn't take this offer and I have to hire somebody who I don't love as much as I love her, or I got to go back to the beginning and do this crap all over again? No, it's worth 10 grand. You're not worth 10 grand more to me, but the whole situation is worth 10 grand more to me. So what happens? You get the money. Because instead of going here, I don't want to take the chance because you didn't give him your word for 175 and 25. You gave him your word for 180 and 30 or whatever it is, right? And you could do it other ways. You can say, however you want to get me the extra 50 grand is up to you. You want to throw it all on the base? That's fine. You want to give me some more bonus? That's fine. You want to give me some sign-on bonus? All that works, right? Because you want to give control to them. What totally gives them control? I give you my word. And for that, you have me. And here's my start date, and everything goes away. Kind of thing. All right? If you don't do this, you don't get more. Right? Like, you might get up more, but you didn't get all you could have. And I'm not even talking about getting them to the number where they're going to hate you when you walk in the door, right? Because you're all worried about that. Oh, my God, we're going to get in there and they're not going to love me. No. If you get in there and they hire you, they're going to love you. If you got the goods and you do the job and you prove your value and you deliver your value. No one will care. Trust me. I give you my word. I will drop everything. Okay? All right, so how'd I do? 41? Well, that was after a little hello and whatever. All right, I'm not going to recap that baker's dozen. You get where I'm going with that. Those are things. So this is a little bit different. Now, I have a whole salary negotiation playlist out there. And I would encourage you to check that out. If you want, for those of you that are with me live, I have a job search coaching program that has a lot more detail with a lot of the scripts and templates and other things related to salary negotiation. You're welcome to check that out as well. If you got value out of this, click the like button. Make sure to share it. This lives on YouTube forever. I'm sure I'll clip this out as a recording as well. I don't know, a month from now or so. But if you are here with me live, we're going to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.